Chapter 10. The Balance of Halal Livelihood and Ease of Life Part 1. The hidden equation between earning and inner peace every morning. The human race wakes up to chase something invisible: risk, sustenance. The streets fill with motion, factories hum, offices light up and markets open. Everyone runs, but not everyone knows what they are running for. Some chase more: money. Some chase stability, few chase peace. But the truth is, peace and provision are not the same thing. You can fill your wallet and still feel empty. You can have millions in the bank and yet struggle to sleep, because ease of life does not come from wealth. It comes from purity, the forgotten law of provision centuries ago. Before machines and screens, people understood a sacred law. Not every earning feeds you. Some feed your body. Others feed your soul. In Arabic, rizq doesn't just mean food or money. It means everything that nourishes your existence: relationships, peace, health, and even the ability to breathe without anxiety. That's why the Quran didn't simply tell us to earn, it told us to earn halal. Allah says, "O mankind, eat from what is lawful and pure on the earth, and do not follow the footsteps of Satan. Surely, he is your clear enemy." Surah Al-Baqarah 2:168. Notice the two words, lawful and pure. Lawful means legally permitted. Pure means spiritually clean. A meal may be lawful in paper, but impure in spirit if earned through deceit or exploitation. That's why a small, honest meal brings light to the heart, while a luxurious feast earned dishonestly can darken the soul. The science behind halal energy, modern psychology, now confirms what the Quran taught 1400 years ago, and the source of income directly shapes emotional health. A study by the Journal of Behavioral Science 2019 found that people who believe their work aligns with ethical or moral values report 30% less anxiety and 40% higher life satisfaction, even if they earn less than others. Why? Because guilt is heavier than poverty. It quietly eats away at serotonin and disrupts sleep cycles. When money comes from deceit, bribery, fraud, manipulation, the nervous system remains alert, as if in constant danger. The subconscious knows what the conscious mind hides. That's why dishonest wealth rarely brings rest. It buys comfort but steals peace. Conversely, halal earnings carry a psychological purity that stabilizes mood, heart rate, and even immunity. Gratitude chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin rise when one feels morally right about their income. So, halal money doesn't just feed your family, it heals your nervous system. 3. The mirage of wealth. Live in an era where rich and successful are used interchangeably, but they are not the same. One man earns millions but needs sleeping pills. Another earns modestly yet wakes with peace and purpose. Who is richer? The Prophet Muhammad said, "Richness does not lie in the abundance of worldly goods, but in the richness of the soul." Bukhari and Muslim. This is not poetic. It's biological. When you live aligned with your values, your body produces coherence. Heart rhythm stabilizes, cortisol drops, and decision-making improves. But when your income violates your conscience, the brain produces conflict, double signals, restlessness, fear of being exposed. Modern success often looks like power, but feels like pressure. True success looks simple, but feels peaceful. 4. The equation of Barakah, blessing. Islam introduced a concept no economist can measure: Barakah. Barakah is the unseen multiplier that turns little into enough. Two men may earn the same amount. One finds peace. The other finds problems. The difference? The energy behind their earning. Barakah operates on purity. It cannot enter a bank account fed by lies, deceit, or oppression. That's why a shopkeeper who sells with honesty often sleeps peacefully, while a corrupt contractor, despite millions, lives restless. Barakah is not luck. It's a system written by the Creator. When the intention is pure, the process lawful, and gratitude constant, life expands in ease even when income doesn't. 5. The hidden cost of haram. Wealth people often ask, if haram money is so bad, why do those who earn it still live luxuriously? The answer lies in a hidden dimension. Comfort is not peace. Haram wealth may bring physical ease, but it erases emotional protection. It attracts anxiety. disconnection and unseen loss in relationships, in children's manners and mental clarity. You may not see the punishment in your bank account, but you will feel it in your heart. You may not lose your house, but you will lose your home. Even the body responds. As guilt and tension raise blood pressure, cortisol weakens immunity, and restlessness ruins digestion. Psychiatrists call it value dissonance while living in contradiction to one's moral compass. Faith calls it zulm on the nafs, oppression of the self, and no medicine cures that but repentance and halal earning. 6. The spiritual architecture of ease, sukun, doesn't come from eliminating struggle. It comes from alignment with truth. Halal earning creates an invisible architecture of ease in the heart. No guilt, no fear of being exposed. Ease in relationships. Trust builds naturally when one's income is transparent. Ease in sleep. The nervous system rests because there's no hidden shame. Ease in prayer. You can lift your hands without hesitation, knowing your body is built from clean food. Prophet Muhammad said, "A person's prayers are not accepted if his sustenance is unlawful." Muslim. This doesn't mean Allah rejects out of cruelty. It means impurity blocks connection, the way static blocks radio signals. To reconnect, one must clean the source. In the story of two men once, a wealthy man visited a sage and said, "I have everything, cars, gold, businesses, but no peace." The sage smiled and asked, "Then you have nothing, because peace is the wealth." He then gave him bread and said, "Eat this. It's from a farmer who never cheats." After the man ate, tears came to his eyes. He said, "For the first time, I feel full, not in the stomach, but in the heart." That is the power of halal. It feeds dimensions science can't measure. 8. The true definition of ease is not the absence of struggle. It's the presence of meaning. Halal living gives meaning to hardship. It turns difficulty into dignity. When you know your earnings are pure, even a small home feels like paradise. And when you know they're not, even palaces feel like prisons. Ease, therefore, is not outside and it's within, and its foundation is halal. 9. A daily reflection practice each night. Before sleeping, ask yourself, was my earning today 100% halal? If the answer is yes, thank Allah with humility. If not, plan a step toward purification. Even one small correction attracts divine ease, because Allah does not expect perfection. He loves intention. 10. Closing reflection: money can buy comfort, but only truth buys contentment. Halal rizq doesn't just provide food, and it provides freedom from guilt, fear, and arrogance. It transforms earning into worship, work into gratitude, and life into balance. In a world obsessed with more, halal teaches us enough, and in enough we rediscover peace. When your earning is clean, your heart becomes light, and when your heart is light, even the smallest home feels like heaven. Chapter 10. The Balance of Halal Livelihood and Ease of Life. Part 2. The Psychology of Halal Earning and the Architecture of Peace. 1. Invisible currency. Moral energy. Every profession runs on two currencies. The first is money, tangible, countable. The second is moral energy, unseen, immeasurable, yet far more powerful. You can deposit money in a bank, but you deposit moral energy in your destiny. Each honest act becomes spiritual fuel. Each dishonest gain drains it. Modern neuroscience now affirms this. Brain imaging studies from Harvard 2020 show that when a person tells the truth, regions of the prefrontal cortex synchronize, producing calm alpha waves. When he lies, stress circuits ignite. The body literally feels dishonesty as tension. That is why a truthful seller may close fewer deals but sleep deeper. His nervous system runs on peace, not pressure. 2. Integrity and mental health psychologists at the University of Zurich found that employees who rated their work as ethically consistent with personal values had 25% lower cortisol and 40% fewer symptoms of depression. When your income and your conscience agree, your brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone that builds trust in relationships. Conversely, when you compromise your ethics, your body registers it as a chronic threat. You may not notice, but insomnia, irritability, And digestive trouble whisper, something inside is misaligned. Faith calls this qalb kaboy, the weight on the heart. Science calls it cognitive dissonance. Both speak of the same pain. The soul knows the truth even when the tongue denies it. 3. Halal wealth and family. Harmony. Money earned clean carries emotional fragrance. When it enters a home, it spreads trust instead of tension. Children sense it subconsciously. A father who earns honestly models stability. His voice is firm yet gentle. A child raised on that energy grows secure, learning that effort, honor, ease. But when income arrives through deception, fear seeps into the walls. Arguments rise without reason. The spouse grows restless. The child learns manipulation before morality. Sociologist Dr. Ralph Hood observed that families with transparent income sources report 60% higher relational satisfaction, regardless of economic status. Honesty, not luxury, sustains love. The Prophet Muhammad taught, "No flesh grows from unlawful earnings except that the fire is more deserving of it." Tirmidhi. This hadith is not only warning, it's neuropsychology and prophetic language. Food made from dishonest gain carries the vibration of anxiety. That vibration breeds restlessness in the heart and discord in the home. 4. Simplicity. As a form of wealth, the modern myth says, more income, more freedom. Reality says more purity, more freedom. A man who limits desires rules his wealth. A man who expands desires becomes its servant. Economist E.F. Schumacher called this Buddhist economics, where prosperity is measured not by consumption but by contentment. Islam reached that truth centuries earlier through qana, inner sufficiency. Halal, earning trains this sufficiency. Because when you work within divine limits, you stop competing with everyone else and start cooperating with fate. Your focus shifts from how much I get to how clean I keep it. That shift alone releases enormous mental space. Ambition remains, but greed dies. 5. Community trust and economic barakah. As society cannot function on police, it functions on trust. When people trade honestly, transaction costs drop and collective prosperity rises. The World Bank Integrity Index 2023 noted that nations scoring high on business transparency enjoy 30% faster small business growth and double the foreign investment compared with corrupt economies. That is Barakah expressed in statistics. Halal business is not only worship, it is economic strategy. When you pay fair wages, your staff works with heart. When you refuse bribery, you attract long-term partners. That ethics in the long run outperform manipulation. The Quran's business model remains undefeated. Give full measure and weight in justice. Al-An'am 6:152. Justice breeds sustainability. Injustice breeds collapse. Count 6. The shadow of haram. Earnings haram wealth behaves like salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. At first it glitters. Easy deals. Quick profits, applause. Then anxiety arrives. Audits. Exposure. Sleepless nights. Guilt disguised as stress. Soon the person builds fortresses of luxury to hide inner poverty. This psychological pattern is universal. Studies on criminal financiers reveal that despite riches, they experience 3 times higher clinical anxiety than average entrepreneurs. Why? Because sin creates vigilance without threat. The body stays in permanent fight or flight. No yacht, mansion, or perfume can cover the smell of unease. 7. The economy of hearts. A healthy economy begins with healthy hearts. If every citizen earned halal, corruption would vanish not by law but by conscience. Imagine a marketplace where sellers speak truth of weight and quality. Buyers pay promptly. Workers feel dignity, not exploitation. Bosses see employees as amana, not assets. That market would have fewer courts and more smiles, because peace would circulate like currency. The first Islamic market in Medina, established by the Prophet, to ban middlemen, deceit, and artificial inflation. Historians note that within 1 decade, poverty nearly disappeared. Not through miracles, through morality. 8. Gratitude and contentment. The 2 guards of ease halal living cultivates shukr, gratitude, and sabr, Patience. These two qualities act as guardians of mental stability. Gratitude turns income into satisfaction. Patience turns delay into training. Together, they transform anxiety into alignment. Neuroresearcher Robert Emmons proved that daily gratitude journaling reduces perceived stress by 25%. Every alhamdulillah is a microdose of serotonin. That is why believers who thank often smile more, not out of denial, but design. Their brains are literally rewired for resilience. 9. The mirror test. Halal or haram is not always obvious. Sometimes the contract is legal, but the method is manipulative. Sometimes the product is allowed, but the marketing deceives. So how to check purity? The Prophet said, ask your heart for a verdict, even if people give you their verdict. Ahmed, look in the mirror before signing the deal. If your reflection avoids your eyes, the income will avoid your peace. 10. Transformation begins with intention. No one becomes fully pure overnight. Purification begins with decision. If your current work involves doubt, start designing an exit, not impulsively, but intentionally plan, pray, prepare. Allah replaces every sacrifice with serenity. One honest choice can rewrite decades of anxiety. 11. When less feels like more, consider 2 homes. In the first, dinner is simple, laughter loud. In the second, table full, faces empty. The first home runs on halal energy, small bites, big barakah. The second runs on illusion, full stomachs, starved souls. Modern sociology calls this subjective well-being. Islam calls it sakana, divine tranquility. The difference isn't in food, but in faith. 12. Practical habits for halal earning and ease. 1. Audit your income flow monthly. Identify any gray area and seek cleaner alternatives. Keep a gratitude ledger. List daily blessings. It resets greed into grace. Give charity regularly. Charity launders the soul. Even 1% given sincerely multiplies peace. Avoid comparison. Scrolling through others' luxuries breeds despair. Measure by values, not visuals. Invest in skill, not schemes. Halal provision loves effort, not shortcuts. Feed others from your earnings. It anchors humility and attracts barakah. 13. A story from modern life. Amira, a software engineer in London, left a job that demanded dishonest billing practices. She took a 40% pay cut to join a smaller firm. 3 months later, she said, I thought I'd lose comfort. I lost anxiety instead. Her example echoes thousands. The moment integrity becomes the metric, life starts breathing again. 14. Closing reflection. Halal earning is not about perfection. It's about direction. Each step away from deceit is a step toward divine ease. Remember, illegal money pollutes quickly. Lawful money purifies slowly. The former expands the pocket. The latter expands the soul. When purity enters income, balance enters life. Body, mind, and home align into harmony. Peace does not arrive with your paycheck. It arrives with your principles. Earn clean, sleep deep, and let honesty become your inheritance. Chapter 10. The Balance of Halal Livelihood and Ease of Life. Part 3. Halal Wealth, Destiny, and the Rise or Fall of Societies. 1. The hidden architecture of nations. A nation's strength is not built by its skyscrapers, but by its ethics. Its bridges may shine, its economy may surge, but if dishonesty seeps into its earnings, the foundation begins to crack from within. History is proof. Every empire that collapsed first lost its moral compass before losing its money. Rome fell not because of external invasion, but because corruption hollowed its core. The Ottoman decline began when integrity faded from trade and tax. Even in the modern world, economic crises are rarely about lack of funds. They're about lack of faithfulness. When lies become business tools, the market may grow, but society dies. 2. The energy of halal circulation. Money itself is neutral, a tool, not a devil, but the way it moves decides whether it heals or harms. Halal money circulates like oxygen. It nourishes every cell it passes through. It builds trust, creates employment, and keeps the heart of the community beating. Haram money circulates like smoke. It suffocates silently. A system filled with deception cannot breathe truth. That is why corruption always comes with poverty. Not because wealth is less, but because Barakah is gone. Barakah is the invisible engine that turns less into enough. It's not magic, it's alignment. When a society aligns its earnings with ethics, the entire collective nervous system relaxes. 3. Spiritual economics. The divine equation Islam introduced a spiritual model of economics long before modern theories. It says, whatever you spend in charity, He replaces it. Quran 34:39. This is not symbolic. It's a literal divine law. When a person gives from halal earnings, circulation increases and scarcity decreases. When people hoard or exploit, the divine ecosystem withdraws blessing. So, the Quran treats giving as investment and hoarding as decay. Modern economists are finally catching up. Studies in behavioral finance show that generous individuals have 20% higher long-term financial stability because gratitude sharpens decision-making and reduces impulsive risk-taking. The more ethical a society, the more efficient its economy. The more corrupt a society, the more chaotic its wealth. 4. Generational impact of halal and haram. Halal and haram are not just personal matters, they are genetic imprints. Prophet Muhammad said, when a person eats what is unlawful, his supplication is not accepted for 40 days. Tabarani. Modern science offers a parallel insight. Epigenetic research shows that lifestyle choices, including diet and stress, alter gene expression, affecting children and even grandchildren. So when a man feeds his family halal, he is literally writing purity into their biology. His children inherit calmness, gratitude, and focus, not just morals but molecular peace. When he feeds them haram, the cells learn confusion and restlessness. Generations later, the unease continues, not as guilt but as anxiety with no clear cause. Thus, halal earning is not only about your present, it's about the emotional DNA of your lineage. 5. The chain of blessing. Halal rizq creates a ripple effect. It begins in the heart of the earner. With intention and effort, it enters the home as peace and shaping family culture. It extends to the community, inspiring fairness and compassion. It reaches the nation, manifesting as justice and trust. Finally, it blesses the world, contributing to a global consciousness of integrity. That's how a single honest merchant becomes the seed of social reform. The Prophet himself was a merchant before a messenger. He didn't build mosques first, and he built trust. That trust became the soil where Islam blossomed. No, dawah succeeds without honesty. No nation prospers without purity. 6. When wealth turns against its owner, there is a haunting pattern in life. Wealth earned through deception often turns into the tool of punishment. How many stories begin with "he built an empire" and end with "he died alone"? How many scandals start in comfort and end in courtrooms? Haram money doesn't just corrupt morals, it changes destiny. It removes divine protection, replacing smooth paths with unseen obstacles. Even the Quran describes this phenomenon. Allah destroys interest and gives increase for charities. Al-Baqarah 2:276. Interest, riba, appears to multiply, but spiritually it decays. Charity appears to decrease wealth, but metaphysically it expands it. It's the same law that governs seeds. What you bury selflessly grows infinitely. What you hoard dies with you. 7. The psychology of greed. Greed is the illusion that tomorrow's hunger can be killed by today's excess. But greed never ends hunger. It ends happiness. Neuroscientists at Yale found that greed activates the same brain circuits as addiction. Each unethical gain gives a short dopamine spike, followed by emptiness. The brain then craves a bigger deceit to fill the growing void. This is why corrupt people rarely stop, not because they need more, but because they've lost the ability to feel enough. Halal earning, on the other hand, reteaches the nervous system to experience satisfaction. It doesn't numb desire, it purifies it. 8. The silent power of sincerity. The most powerful currency in the world is not gold, oil, or crypto. It's ikhlas, sincerity. One sincere act can outweigh a lifetime of transactions. When a man feeds a hungry person with clean bread, that energy travels. It eases hearts, inspires kindness, and returns multiplied through unknown doors. Economists call it social capital. Islam calls it ajr. Both agree. Sincerity compounds faster than interest. The secret is in the intention. You may earn the same amount doing the same work, but if one person says for Allah and another says for ego, their realities diverge like parallel universes. And when no halal earning becomes worship, every profession, if done honestly, becomes an act of prayer. The carpenter who shapes wood with sincerity is no less spiritual than the scholar who writes. The farmer who sows without cheating is no less honorable than the imam who leads prayer. The prophet said, "The truthful and trustworthy merchant will be with the prophets, the truthful, and the martyrs." Tirmidhi. That hadith alone can rebuild entire economies, if understood deeply. When your work becomes worship, fatigue turns into fulfillment. The same office becomes a masjid when honesty enters the contract. 10. A global vision of balance. Imagine a world where every salary was clean, every deal was transparent, every meal was earned with dignity. There would be fewer hospitals, fewer prisons, fewer divorces, because most diseases, crimes, and conflicts are symptoms of imbalance, greed, exploitation, guilt. The return to halal is the return to humanity. That's why Islam's economic system, zakat, honesty, moderation, isn't a restriction. It's the engineering of ease. It aligns the material with the moral. When you follow that system, you're not giving up luxury, you're rediscovering lightness. 11. Halal business in the modern world. Halal is not limited to food. It's a framework. In modern trade, it means ethical marketing, fair pricing, sustainability, and welfare. A halal business in 2025 looks like transparency with clients, paying fair wages, avoiding exploitation of fear or desire, producing products that heal, not harm. This is how Islamic business ethics could reshape capitalism. When profit and purity coexist, both the company and the consumer grow in dignity. 12. When nations forget, when nations abandon halal principles, corruption doesn't just infect the elite. It trickles down like poison. Bribery becomes culture, theft becomes smartness, and dishonesty becomes survival. That's when nations stop growing vertically and start sinking spiritually. The Quran describes it perfectly. When we intend to destroy a town, we command its affluent people, but they defiantly disobey. Thus the word becomes justified against it. Al-Isra 17:16. A society dies when success loses its soul and it revives. When even one generation rediscovers honesty. 13. The role of leaders. Leaders are mirrors of the collective conscience. If rulers are corrupt, it's because citizens tolerate it. If citizens are pure, corruption cannot rule them. That's why Umar ibn al-Khattab, R.A., used to walk at night, to ensure no hungry child slept while he governed. He knew that true leadership is not authority. It's accountability before Allah. When leaders fear God, people sleep in peace. When they fear exposure, everyone lives in fear. 14. The light of contentment. A pure income fills the heart with nur, light. That light manifests as calmness, clarity, and compassion. You walk slower, speak softer, smile longer. It's not poverty, it's peace. You no longer need to prove your worth. Your worth is in your honesty. The Prophet promised, whoever earns a lawful income, Allah will bless him in it and grant him ease. Ease, the very thing the world spends trillions chasing, is the reward of purity. 15. The ripple beyond death. Halal. Earnings outlive their owners. Every bite you feed your child, every book you publish, every brick you build with clean money, they become silent prayers after your death. They don't vanish. They echo. Your name continues in ease because your wealth was clean. As the Quran says, and they will find what they did present before them. And your Lord does not wrong anyone. Al-Kahf 1849. When your earnings are halal, your legacy is eternal. Closing reflection, the destiny of a man, a family, or a nation can be summarized in one word: integrity. When earning becomes worship, wealth becomes mercy. When deception becomes habit, wealth becomes curse. Halal is not a label, it's a light frequency. It doesn't just feed the stomach, it feeds the universe around you. Every coin earned honestly vibrates peace. Every deceitful dollar vibrates distress. You choose the energy that enters your home, and that energy shapes your fate. A clean coin shines beyond its metal. It reflects your truth, your patience, your destiny. Earn what makes you light, and you'll never walk in darkness again. Chapter 10. The Balance of Halal Livelihood and Ease of Life Part 4. The Path to Sustained Ease. The Blueprint of a Halal Life. 1. Returning to the core in the chaos of ambition, modern humans forgot the oldest truth of existence. Peace is not earned by chasing more. It is preserved by living clean. Every struggle for survival, the job, the loan, the late-night hustle, revolves around one word: rizq, sustenance. But the more we chased, the farther peace went. It's time to pause and ask, did we earn ease or just exhaustion? True wealth doesn't make your wallet heavy. It makes your heart light. And that light only appears when your livelihood carries no shadows. 2. The anatomy of ease is not an external condition. It's an internal alignment. It emerges when your faith, finances, and feelings move in the same rhythm. Think of your life as a tree. Roots are your intentions. Trunk is your daily work. Leaves and fruits are your results. If the roots drink impure water, the fruits will rot. No amount of polish can hide that decay. The Quran reminds us, good land brings forth good produce by the permission of its Lord, but bad land brings forth nothing except sparsely. Al-Araf 7:58. This is both a spiritual and economic truth. Clean roots create fruitful lives. 3. The modern disease. Achievement without alignment. Today's generation works harder than ever, but feels emptier than ever. People have high incomes and low satisfaction, full refrigerators and starved hearts. Why? Because we've perfected the art of achievement but forgotten the science of alignment. We chase upgrades, cars, houses, followers, but neglect upgrading our conscience. The mind gets smarter. The soul gets weaker. We call it success, but inside, we're out of breath. The Prophet Muhammad said, there will come a time when people will not care where their wealth comes from, halal or haram. Bukhari. That prophecy is our present, but within it lies hope, because awareness is the first step toward revival. 4. The spiritual blueprint. How to anchor ease in halal. Living ease doesn't happen by chance. It's built intentionally, layer by layer. Here's how to construct it. 1. Purify intention. Start by redefining why you work, not just to survive, but to serve. Work becomes worship when purpose replaces pressure. When you open your shop or laptop, whisper, Ya Allah, make this earning clean, and make it a source of benefit for others. That single sentence realigns the entire energy of your day. 2. Simplify desires. Luxury is not forbidden, but slavery to luxury is. Each extra desire adds a new chain to your freedom. Practice voluntary simplicity. Ask yourself before buying, do I own this or does this own me? Prophet Muhammad lived in simplicity not because he lacked wealth, but because he understood peace doesn't need decoration. 3. Guard your time and transactions. Time is also rizq. How you spend it determines the purity of your life. Avoid dishonest shortcuts, digital or physical. Every lie in business is like a virus in your soul's software. Even if unnoticed by humans, it slows your spiritual system. Transparency isn't just a rule, it's therapy. 4. Give without fear. Charity, sadaqah, is the oxygen of halal wealth. It keeps your money alive by letting it breathe. Each time you give, you tell Allah, I trust you more than my balance, and He responds by multiplying what you kept. The Prophet said, charity does not decrease wealth. Muslim. Science now agrees. Generosity activates reward centers in the brain, creating long-term happiness. From 5. Rest in gratitude. Ease doesn't mean idleness. It means contentment. After every earning, pause and thank the giver, not the system, not the client, but the source. Gratitude converts transaction into transformation. You stop chasing and start cherishing. 5. The emotional science of halal living. Modern psychology confirms that moral clarity produces calm. When you know you're clean, your nervous system shifts from fight or flight to rest and repair. Clinical studies, Stanford, 2022 show that people who believe their income is honest experience lower resting heart rates, fewer sleep disturbances, stronger immune response, and greater long-term happiness. In short, halal is not just a religious ideal. It's a neurological medicine. 6. The subconscious weight of deception. Dishonesty carries invisible mass. Even small lies or manipulations sit on the subconscious like stones. That's why people with unclean earnings often feel fatigue without reason. They are dragging invisible burdens. When you shift to honesty, the first feeling is not joy, it's lightness. Your body literally exhales the tension of deceit. It's the same relief you feel after telling a truth you've hidden for years. That's your soul stretching. Again. 7. The balance between effort and trust. Tawakkul. Some people misunderstand tawakkul. They think it means doing nothing and waiting for divine help. In truth, tawakkul is disciplined action plus spiritual surrender. The Prophet tied his camel before trusting Allah, not the other way around. That one gesture defines balance. Do your part with honesty, then rest your heart in Him. If your effort is clean, your outcome will be correct, even if it's delayed, and every delay in halal earning carries hidden mercy. 8. The power of saying no. Saying no to doubtful money is one of the highest forms of worship. Each time you refuse a bribe, reject unethical deals, or walk away from manipulation, angels record it as jihad of the self. The Prophet said, "Leave what makes you doubt for what does not make you doubt." Tirmidhi. That moment of refusal, though silent, shakes the unseen world. It declares, "My soul is not for sale." 9. How halal earning reshapes relationships. When your money is clean, your relationships heal. Trust replaces suspicion. Calm replaces conflict. Love feels lighter. A spouse who knows your income is pure safety in your eyes. A child raised on halal food grows fearless and fair-minded. Even friendships change, because purity attracts purity. In the long run, halal living filters your entire social circle, leaving only those aligned with your peace. 10. Economic spirituality and practice. Here's a modern example. In Japan, where honesty is a social norm, researchers found wallet return rates of over 80%. That's moral discipline without religious obligation. Imagine how much higher the level of trust could be in a faith-based halal economy. Now imagine the impact if Muslim entrepreneurs worldwide built a halal integrity movement, a network of businesses certified not just for food standards but for ethical dealings. That movement could redefine global commerce. Because in a world addicted to profit, purity will become luxury. 11. The cycle of ease moves in a sacred cycle. 1. You earn clean. 2. Your heart stays calm. At 3. You spend with gratitude. You sleep with peace. You wake with purpose. You earn again, cleaner than before. Break the cycle once, with greed, deceit, or ingratitude, and when peace pauses, but start again sincerely, and ease returns faster than you imagine. Allah's mercy is not linear. It's circular, ever returning to those who realign. 12. The story of the honest builder. There was once a builder who refused to use cheap material even when no one would know. He said, "If I cut corners, the walls will remember." Years later, the company gifted him a house, unknowingly built by his own hands. Because he had refused deceit, he ended up living within his own integrity. That's how life works. Every honest act quietly builds your future. Shelter. 13. The inner symbol of rizq is not just what enters your hand, it's what stays in your heart. You can have less and still feel abundant. That feeling of Alhamdulillah is rizq in its purest form, the Quran says. And whoever fears Allah, He will provide for him from where he does not expect. At-Talaq 65:2. It means when you protect purity, provision protects you. Doors you never knew existed start opening, quietly, gracefully. 14. The final transformation, from income to influence. Halal earning is not the end goal. It's the foundation of legacy. It allows you to influence others, and not by preaching, but by being. Your calm becomes proof. Your smile becomes sermon. Your balance becomes dawah. People don't follow what you say. They follow what you radiate, and nothing radiates stronger than the serenity of an honest heart. 15. The everlasting ease born from halal doesn't die with death. It travels with you. On the day of judgment, your earnings will stand beside you, and not as numbers, but as light. Each coin of halal becomes a lamp on the path to paradise. Each penny of deceit becomes a shadow that drags the soul down. The Prophet said, "A servant's feet will not move on the day of judgment until he is asked about his wealth, how he earned it and how he spent it." Tirmidhi. That question isn't a threat, it's a mercy. It reminds us that life's real audit happens before the grave, not after. 16. The prayer of the pure. O Allah, make my earnings clean, my heart content, my intentions pure, and my path light. Let my wealth serve goodness, and never let my soul serve wealth. Whisper this after every payday, because what the heart prays, the hands begin to practice. 17. The legacy of ease. A person who lives and dies on halal earnings leaves behind more than money. He leaves behind an atmosphere. Even after he's gone, people remember him and say he was honest. You could trust his word. That sentence is greater than monuments. It's the real currency of the afterlife, the echo of trust that never fades. 18. Closing reflection. At the end of the journey, the question isn't, how much did you earn, but how did you earn it? Because wealth measures comfort, but purity measures worth. In a noisy world of shortcuts, halal is rebellion. In a restless age, honesty is healing, and in the pursuit of ease, faith remains the only formula that works forever.